this analysis of du-jat exam for 2020. As you know कि इस साल पैंडेमिक की वजह से एग्जाम को डेफर किया गया and it was held in the month of September. To be precise, it was held on 7 September and it was held in 2 shifts. Okay, so this was the exam dates. This time the final cutoff has just been released, the final scores have just been released, and the students are in the process of, or they are releasing the first merit list, and they're releasing the second merit list and releasing third merit list based on the number of interested candidates. Okay, right? So let's have a proper analysis of this du-jat exam this time. Now, what are the agenda for this? We are going to discuss the pattern of the exam this time, and particularly in the COVID situation time, what was the pattern, what was the change in pattern this time as compared to the earlier patterns, the cutoffs and the colleges. Now this pattern that you are seeing may not remain same next year, right? So since this was a pandemic time, they tweaked the pattern a little bit. They made the pattern a little bit easy for students to attempt. Okay, let's have the number of seats. How many seats are there in this whole process? There are 3 courses basically for which du-jat exam is conducted. The first is obviously the BMS, which is Bachelor of Management Studies, Bachelor in Financial and Investment Analysis, and Bachelor of Business Economics. So number of seats in BMS is 553, in BFI is 136, in BB is 458. The total number of seats, if you add this, it comes out to 1147, right? Now अगर मैं थोड़ा सा और डीप जाऊँ इस बार में कि एनालिसिस करूँ कि कितने सीट्स पर स्टूडेंट सीरियस स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं, तो इफ़ यू हैव अ डीप एनालिसिस, there were around 18 to 19,000 students were there who took the test this time. Now if you 50% are non-serious ones, so 9,000 are gone, so 9,000 are left. And also if the average cutoff, the clearing the cutoff, the number of students is say around 40 to 50%, so it comes out to be around 4,000 students for this 1147 seats, which means for roughly I can say for 3 students I have 1 seat. So the fight is in the ratio of 1:3 to 1:3.5, not more than that. 3.5 students competing for a single seat. So this is the distribution this time of the seats vis-a-vis the number of candidates attempting the test. Okay, now let's have a critical analysis. Some basic things we should know. Which are the colleges which are offering the BMS course? These are the 9 colleges which are offering the BMS course. Out of these 9 colleges, college number 5 and college number 9 are the best colleges which are offering the BMS course. Then let's see the colleges offering the BBE course. If you see the BBE course, all the colleges roughly of the same level, not less, not more, not less. Based on the feedback which I received from the students, this college, they prefer this college a little bit more as compared to other college. Okay, and also they preferred this college, Shivaji College, as well. Okay, this is strictly based on the feedback received from the students, from my students. Okay, if you see the number of colleges offering BFIA, no question about that, this is the best college. In fact, this college to me is the best college, and this is what the students aim for, because the future is set अगर आपका इस college में हो जाता है तो, right? अगर because the placement is actually 100%, and if you consider the inflation, even if you compare the business situation right now, then also there are around 1 to 1.5 companies for each student, right? So this college is very good college here, and the students aim for this college only, right? So these are the 3 colleges. Now let's see the exam pattern which has been happening till now. अब तक क्या होता था? अब तक होता था पिछले साल तक. When I say exam pattern, till now, till last year, this was the pattern. 100 questions, 25 questions from each part. All the questions are having MCQ, and negative marking is there. So +4 for a positive mark, -1 for a negative mark. ठीक है, 100 questions, so 400 marks, right? And there's only a single shift, not two shifts. Two shifts was for this time, but the exam was generally conducted single shift only. Okay, so and the paper duration is 2 hours, right? And the distribution was 85% for the test and 15% for the GT and interview part. The weightage was 15%, 85% for the written test, and also some weightage is given for the 10th for the 12th marks as well. Okay, now if you see the pattern this time, what happened this time? The number of questions remained 100, ठीक है, सेक्शनल वेटेज रैंडम जो कि पिछले साल जैसा ही था, MCQ बेस्ड, देयर वर 4 सेक्शंस, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी, बट द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ क्वेश्चंस वाज डिफरेंट. देयर वर ओनली 11 to 12 questions from GK, 17 to 18 questions from English, 37 to 38 from the maths part, and the reasoning had 32 to 33 questions. Okay, so this was the distribution of the paper, and since the questions were randomly arranged, which means a reasoning question is followed by a GK question, is followed by an English question, then followed by 2 quant questions, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this was the pattern. So there was no sectional cutoff, कोई sectional cutoff था नहीं, it was an overall cutoff. Overall cutoff का भी कुछ एक pattern था, एक way था cutoff निकालने का for the GDPI round. Okay, so this was the rough cut distribution of the questions this time. So as you see, 37 to 38, which means quantitative ability had the maximum questions right now, followed by the reasoning section. So these two, if you understand the mathematical element of the paper, the mathematical element had 70% weightage, while the critical element of English and general knowledge had around 13% weightage. So needless to say, maths and reasoning are the cornerstones to clear this exam. Okay, let's see the sectional distribution of each section, right, from both the shifts. Okay, so I'm giving you a range of the number of questions asked from both the shifts. Okay, so if you see the average, this is the section, and this is the average number of questions asked from both the shifts. Okay, so reading comprehension at 4 to 5 questions, which means in the first shift there was only one passage, but in the second shift there were 2 passages, right? Vocabulary based like questions on synonyms and antonyms and fill in the blanks had around 8 to 9 questions. Sentence rearrangement around 1 to 2 questions, and grammar had 1 to 2 questions. Okay, sentence rearrangement means parts of the sentence were given and you have to rearrange it to form a sentence in a particular order. Okay, so this constituted the sentence rearrangement part. Okay, so overall around 17 to 18 questions, as I told you, of which you can comfortably do around 11 to 12 questions. Right, if your basics of English is clear, you can easily do 11 to 12 questions this time. Okay, the difficulty level was not so much. In fact, throughout the years as well, difficulty level of the English section ज़्यादा नहीं रहती है as compared to the other sections. So except for 1 or 2 odd questions जो कि रहती है, we have to understand the oddities of each and every section, each and every paper. But if you leave that thing apart, the difficulty level is not so much this time, except for 1 or 2 odd questions in the reading comprehension section. Okay, if you consider the reasoning section, now reasoning section, I'm giving you a range of the number of questions in both the shifts. Syllogism had 1 to 2 questions. Visual reasoning consisting of pattern and also pattern recognition and say what is the next figure, or which is the mismatched figure in the series. So all these constituted 2 to 3 questions. Coding based questions were around 2 to 3 from both the shifts. Circular and linear, which we call them as puzzle kind of questions. So there were 2 puzzles in the first shift, but there were 1 puzzle only in the second shift. Assertion reasoning type of question, there was only 1 question this time. Okay, series kind of questions between 5 to 6 in both the shifts, and series consist of questions from the number series, the letter series, and alphanumeric. So it's a mix of questions, from all kinds of series that you can think of. Directions and relations. Directions means if you north, south, east, west, and relations means blood relations. Cumulatively there were only one question this time, right? So the weightage of this part was less. This cannot remain same in the next year, but this time the weightage was less. And comparatively, clocks and calendar had a higher weightage as compared to directions and relations. So 1 to 2 questions were asked here. Odd one out, which is the odd number, which is the odd letter, which is the odd word. All these things, all these kind of questions were 4 to 5 in number. So, and miscellaneous questions like questions from order and ranking, questions from cubes, questions from dices, all these are the miscellaneous questions. They were totaled around 4 to 5 questions in both the shifts. So if you consider 32 to 33 questions, the number of doable questions were around 20 to 22. Minimum number of questions to do, and you have to do 20 to 22 questions to be in the merit list for the GDPI round. Okay. So this was the rough cut distribution of the questions. Now if you see the maths section, now as I told you, maths there were how many questions? There were 37 questions. There were how many questions? 37 questions, 37 to 38 questions. अगर मैं 37-38 क्वेश्चन को हायर मैथ्स और कन्वेंशनल मैथ्स में डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करूं, सो दीज आर द टॉपिक्स, और मैं बगल में हायर मैथ्स लिख देता हूं कि किस किस में हायर मैथ्स है. दिस इज हायर मैथ्स टॉपिक, परमुटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन. APGP is the higher maths section. Limits is the higher maths part. Matrices, if I consider this to be a higher maths part. Trigonometry is a higher maths, right? Function and graphs, the function among the higher maths part, this section had the highest weightage of the number of questions in the higher maths section. Functions were mainly concerned with relations, mainly concerned with different kinds of function, and also the questions were from the graphs as well. So this is also a higher maths section. So this is also a higher maths section. This is also a higher maths section, right? Logarithm also considered to be a higher maths topic, rarely asked in the conventional maths part. And also in the algebra, this is a higher maths topic because the equations were not from straightforward, they were a little bit complex equations. Okay, I probably missed one topic of complex numbers. One question on complex number was also asked at this time, so there was only one question from complex number as well. Okay, so if you add the number of questions here, if I add it and if I take the higher number here, so 2 plus 2 4 plus 2 6 7 8 16 18 20 21 23 25, so around 30, from 38 questions I can say around 24 to 25 questions were there from the higher math section, and around 13 to 14 questions were from the conventional math section. Now if you understand the weightage this time as compared to last year, पिछले साल तक अब तक 25 क्वेश्चन में से अराउंड 75 to 80% क्वेश्चन जो होते थे वो हायर मैथ से आते थे. इस साल टू प्ले इट सेफ they made it a little bit easier, right, and they decreased the weightage of the higher maths from 80% to around 65 to 65%, and the rest 35% were from the conventional math section. The question, the difficulty level is not that much, okay, because अगर आप इस इनके हायर मैथ्स के क्वेश्चन देखेंगे एज कंपेयर टू से एन IIT JEE पेपर, ये CBSE बोर्ड को पूरी तरह कोर तक फॉलो करते हैं, राइट. तो अगर आपका बेसिक फॉर्मूले क्लियर है, जो क्वेश्चन जिस तरह के क्वेश्चन CBSE बोर्ड में आते हैं उसके तरह के ही क्वेश्चन, उसी तरह के क्वेश्चन हायर मैथ्स में देते हैं. दे डू नॉट tinker too much with the difficulty level of the question. If the only requirement to clearing this higher maths section efficiently is to know the formula and which formula is applicable at that particular point of time. So multiple formulas वाले questions बहुत कम रहते हैं, एक single formula पे ही question रहती है, तो उसमें ज़्यादा difficulty नहीं होती अगर आपका formula clear है और कौन सा formula कब apply करना है. If you know that thing, then it is a very easy section to attempt. Okay, so total out of 37 to 38 questions, the total number of doable questions were around 25 to 27. You should get 25 to 27 questions correct to be in reckoning for the next round of, which is a GDPI round, right? So 25 to 27 questions were the doable questions in the math section. Okay, सेक्शनल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन फॉर जनरल अवेयरनेस। और जनरल अवेयरनेस डिफरेंस क्या था इस साल कि जनरल अवेयरनेस में द क्वेश्चंस वर मेनली फ्रॉम द current affairs part. So there were 12 questions in both the shifts. Okay, so and all the questions were mainly from the current affairs. That does not mean that this will happen next year, because business awareness and economic awareness is an integral part of general awareness section और उसके questions आते ही आते हैं, right? So but this time they mainly asked the current affairs part. Okay, so this was a departure from the previous year pattern जब business awareness question भी आते थे. Out of 12 questions you can easily do 7 to 8 questions अगर आपका current affairs वाला part clear है तो. So doable questions in this section is around 7 to 8 questions. You should get 7 to 8 questions very easily. Okay, now having done the whole thing, now let's see how they shortlisted the candidates for the next round. Right, it is not a straight case of doable questions multiplied by 4 and then you get to the next round. That is not the case over here. They follow a particular process which is known as the process of normalization. Now what is this normalization process all about? The total marks obtained by the candidates in all sections are summed up. जितने भी मार्क्स है उसको सम अप कर दिया जाता है. ओके, इसको कहते हैं रॉ स्कोर. जो बच्चे को आया, जो स्कोर आया वो आया रॉ स्कोर. फ्रॉम द रॉ स्कोर एक नॉर्मलाइजेशन प्रोसेस फॉलो किया जाता है. what is that normalization process is all about? They set a difficulty level for each question. कि हर क्वेश्चन पे डिफिकल्टी लेवल सेट करते हैं कि इस क्वेश्चन में मान लो एक पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन नंबर से 5 है, इसमें आउट ऑफ 100 स्टूडेंट्स सिर्फ 10 बच्चे करेक्ट करते हैं. सो एंड आप उन 10 बच्चों में से हैं, तो ऑटोमेटिकली इसका स्केल्ड स्कोर जो होगा वो रॉ स्कोर से ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. दिस क्वेश्चन विल हैव अ हायर वेटेज. ओके, क्योंकि इसमें सिर्फ कम बच्चों ने अटेम्प्ट किए हैं और वो कम, और जिन्होंने सही अटेम्प्ट किए उनको हायर वेटेज मिलेगी एज कंपेयर टू दी दोज स्टूडेंट्स हु डिड नॉट अटेम्प्ट द क्वेश्चन. right, and say a particular question, say question number 11, say 100 out of 100 students, say around 85 got attempted the question and 75 got this correct, which means the difficulty level इस क्वेश्चन की उतनी ज़्यादा नहीं है, तो इसका रॉ स्कोर भले ही +4, इसका स्केल जो होगा वो कम हो जाएगा. राइट, तो इसकी इस क्वेश्चन का वेटेज जो होगा इन द फाइनल एनालिसिस कैलकुलेशन ये कम हो जाएगा. ओके, सो इस तरह से वो एक स्केल्ड स्कोर बनाते हैं. इस स्केल्ड स्कोर के बेसिस पे जो टॉपर जो रहता है उसकी स्केल्ड स्कोर को 100 परसेंटाइल माना जाता है. राइट, और उसके हिसाब से परसेंटाइल सेट किया जाता है. right, and then from that they set a number of candidates for the GDPI round, which is around, say अगर 18,000 students देते हैं तो you can say 40% of the candidates are called for the GDPI round. Not even 40%, 30% of the candidates are called for the GDPI round. Right, so this is how they set the whole thing. After the whole process is over, then they give you ranks. Ki this was the rank of yours based on your performance in the du-jat written test, as well as in the performance in your GTPI score, and also performance in 10th and 12th is also taken into account a little bit. Based on those 3 parameters they give you ranks, right, and based on the rank you are allocated a seat in a particular college, or you are allocated seats in particular colleges for different courses. Okay, so this is what the process is followed. Okay, now अगर मैं इस समय की बात करूं, मैंने उन चारों सेक्शन को अगर मैंने ऐड किया तो you will see that the number of doable questions जो होते हैं वो 72 हो रहेंगे from the number of questions of 100. And the raw score, scale score हम कह नहीं सकते because it entirely depends on the analysis, final analysis, but the raw score to get a GDPI call will be around 260 mark. And this is the final rank जो हमें लगता है final rank होगी for general category students. To the last rank for a BMS candidate is 326. Minimum rank has to be 326 to get a call, final call from any of the colleges. For the BBA, BFIA, the last rank is 350. and for the BBE course the last rank has to be 1150, around 1500. Okay, for general category, because different categories भी SC भी है, ST भी है, OBC, non criminal, all these things are there. It's accordingly the last rank उनके लिए different हो जाएंगे, but I'm giving you the rank, last rank for the general category students to get a seat in a particular course. Now it does not depend on the college, it just depends on the course, right? उसी हिसाब से they give you the, they put out the merit list कि अब फर्स्ट मेरिट लिस्ट में कितने सीट्स भरे हैं, and then they tweak a little bit based on the response they get from the first round, right? So this is how they select the candidates for the du-jat for these three courses जो मैंने कहा है, BBA, BBE, BMS and BFIA. So this is the whole process followed for getting a seat over there. थैंक यू सो मच. हम और अच्छे एनालिसिस के साथ आएंगे आपके पास easyprep.com पे. कीप फॉलोइंग द लेसन्स एंड कीप विजिटिंग आवर वेबसाइट so that you get a hang out of the way that we teach students, and we what we follow also is we follow a practical way of clearing the exam. Knowledge is important, but most important is application of knowledge, which is important, and that application part is followed at easyprep.com. So keep following this, and till we meet again in the next session. Thank you so much. Thank you.